Hey, what's up, y'all? I've gotten a good bit of questions and DMs in game and on Discord from people who were baited by MFA or are finding that KB of clustering is super squishy. And not knowing that it can be tanky enough to do tier 17 scarabs with explicits or juice rogue exiles with explicits. This is going to be a basic rundown or a general guide on how to play KB clustering the way that I play it, which is just essentially infinitely more tanky and still does a good amount of damage. My guy is ailment immune, spell suppress capped, block capped for both attack and spell, and like I said, is strong enough to do enough damage to do the harder content in the game. We'll go step by step just for clarity's sake. First, we'll start with the gear. So we will start with the helmet, which is Indigon. It's the best option. I'm not even gonna try and cover the other options. I wouldn't suggest playing this without Indigon. The item is just unnecessarily broken. I think it's the strong one of, if not the strongest item in the game. Now we're gonna go to what makes us unnecessarily tanky. It's Svalin. It's the shield that I think it came out with Settlers. So without it, it wouldn't work. If you're concerned about damage, I need you to remember that you're playing with the Indigon, and there's no shortage of damage. Alright, now we're at the belt slot. The belt slot I'd reserve for Headhunter or Mageblood, and to be quite honest, I very much prefer Headhunter since it's the significantly more fun item for me. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that Mageblood makes looting the map significantly faster. One or the other, but those are the two you should go with. If you don't have either though, and you're just starting the build, going with a rare with a high dex or synth dex implicit would be probably the best, and probably easier to manage your resistances and attributes if you need any, or if you were short. But yeah, go with Headhunter or Mageblood. Mageblood for faster looting, Headhunter just because it's the better. I think it's a better item. Alright, we're now going to our weapon, which is the wand. I know that the wand looks daunting and it is honestly pretty annoying to make. Palsteron though made a video on how to craft this, and I recommend watching that. That's what I followed essentially when I started this character. Otherwise, if you're just in the process of starting the build, don't quite have the dosh to make and recom this weapon, any wand with plus max mana, attack speed, crit multi, and crafted pen would be enough. You can achieve this by spamming attack speed essences on a fractured max mana wand. That's how I started. I was using that with Rogue Exiles even up until the point where I was able to craft my current wand. So now we're gonna go to the boots. The Jordan ones will have a few things it needs. Most importantly, if you're gonna be essentially copying my POB, it's the chance to avoid elemental ailments. Due to us using Ancestral Vision, this is how we achieve ailment immunity. You're looking for the other stats. You want good life, dex, resistances, good move speed, and honestly, bonus points if you can get mana. The best way I believe to do this is to get a fractured base and then spam ailment avoid essences. That part is relatively flexible though. And again, I've self-crafted most of my gear, and that includes the boots you're seeing. Alright, so the rings. Implicit dex percent bases now start at about, I think last I checked, about 30 divs. And to be honest, that's a lot, especially if you're just starting. I did drop mine, so I'd personally say that if you're starting out, just go with a mana fracture on any ring, so you can spam dex essences. Otherwise, there's also those fancy heist rings as another slightly more expensive option. The important part here is to fix the requirements for your attributes and to help your resistances. You generally want 2 really good rings, or you could just mirror it with Kalandra like I am. But yeah, this is a flex spot, although you should try to get what you need from here. So we're gonna talk about the amulet. Currently I'm using the mana attribute Great Wolf, which I believe right now is starting at like 60 divines, maybe even more. Though there's a bunch of other options like simplex, percent dex implicit. You could even use Astra Mentis if you're in a budget like that, and that'll work out. Just know that if you use the Astra Mentis, when you take it off, you're eventually gonna need to fix a lot of things, namely your attributes. So the idea, if you are starting out, is to help pad out your resistances or attributes. As far as anoints go, I personally like Spirit Void. It kind of helps with my mana sustain, but you could honestly put any other one. You should be okay. Just make sure that you're not spamming your kinetic blast. You like need to maybe tap it once, and then you'll kill an entire pack. You don't need to do a lot. So the chest I'm using, I've mirrored this chest, but prior to this, I was using this old chest. And as you can see, the slot is just great for defensive stats, resistances even. But I'll be honest, the percent attack speed per 25 dex is pretty damn good mod. But it's not necessary at all. You can do every content without it. It's just kind of a nice quality of life. So, jewels. Some jewels are mandatory for this setup. Ancestral Vision, the Chaos Resistance, percent Light of Meaning, a Watcher's Eye with Clarity, 10% mana, a Replica Reckless Defense to balance out and be able to be Spell Block and Attack Block. Now I know these can be relatively daunting, but if you're okay with no Chaos Res or adding it to your gear instead, you can skip like the Light of Meaning. Though to get max block on attack and spell, you'll need Reckless, even with the setup I have. You're also going to need to have a cluster with Prodigious Defense, Feed the Fury, and Heavy Hitter. It allows you to get Prodigious Defense and Fury, Feed the Fury, with 5 points. You'd also want to find Corrupted Blood Jewel at some point, just in any of your jewels. Oh, sorry. A Natural Instinct and Light of Meaning do a little combo. It's really kind of cool interaction. It's definitely something you'd want. Even if you're not doing the Chaos Res, Light of Meaning is just so powerful in that slot. Brutal Restraint also gives you a Gorillion Dexterity. Mine personally, I think gives me plus 10% max dex. I know that there's better ones out there, but this one works out for me. I didn't spend like a ton of money on it too. I think I bought it early league for like 2 divs. Now I want to cover the passive points. Points are pretty tight for this build, though it's weirdly flexible at the same time. So you can see that on my tree I'm not taking Mom. Mom is an option though. I find it's not necessary for me personally because I'm on Svalin. Svalin is just that damn strong, you know. I would honestly just copy mine, but feel free to deviate. It's not set in stone because the build is just strong. You're using Indigon, you're using Svalin, and you're kind of just taking advantage of mechanics that are inherently strong to begin with. So there's a lot of room. And for ascendancy points, it's pretty much set. The order that I would go with is, if you're leveling, is Have You Forgotten, There Is More, and then An Infinite Pursuit, and the last one would be Wait a Little. And yeah, I think that's it for points. There's really nothing that I feel to cover. Passive points wise, you could see that if you end up getting an Impossible Escape, you can see that I'm using Blood Magic Impossible, and I am getting 3 nodes on there for block. You don't need that. You could replace your block with Roomies or something like that. It's very flexible. Skill gems, it's kind of just straightforward. I'll go over my links. You'll see it in the video right here, and I'll freeze them, of course. So you have KB, and at some point I wasn't using Inspiration because I was being greedy. I was using Item Rarity instead. That was when I was in Headhunter. Being on HH just makes it so you can honestly work with that. The ores I use are here. You can see them. the Tornado and Spell Slinger is necessary. It's what enables the interaction with Kinetic Blast of Clustering, Frost Blink for movement, and then Shield Charge as well. The reason why Frost Blink is because you can Shield Charge and cancel the Shield Charge with Frost Blink. Essentially, you could double jump in that sense. You want faster attacks with that. I have it inside of the Svalin with Sigil of Power. So we get Sigil of Power when we block. The other ones are Mark on Hit, Sniper's Mark, Enhance, and Blood Rage. Quality, Sniper's Mark and Blood Rage benefit from gem quality, so that's why we have that. It's really strong for rogues. For automation, I use Arcane Cloak, Berserk, and more duration. Berserk is on there since it's pretty much permanently on. Whenever you're mapping or doing anything, you maintain the 30 rage the entire time because of how much mana you spend due to Indigon. With this setup, you'll honestly be blasting. So for the flasks, when I said that this build is flexible, it's very flexible in that sense because I'm using the flasks I have because I like it. You don't need the what's it called, the cold res flask. You could use a different res flask. The only reason I'm using cold res is because that's the one I needed and was missing out of my gear. So you could get a gold flask. I was using a gold flask when I was on Headhunter. You can do a lot. It's really up to you. I'm using diamond because I like the crit. On the Mage Blood setup, I'm using Onslaught and Quicksilver just because looting the map is so much better when you're moving this fast. You're gonna be able to just finish up the map and then you loot, because honestly when you're doing Rogue Exiles, the longest part of the map is looting because of the sheer amount of things that drop. So it's your preference for pots. As you can see, I don't have a health pot. If you don't have the money for Progenesis, drop that slot. You could use a flask with bleed, anti-bleed with like full health on low life or something like that. That's what you want. And honestly, there's times where I find myself wishing I had that instead of Progenesis. And honestly, that's pretty much it. This should give you a general idea of what you need to do KB of clustering with a sprinkle of Svalin and unnecessary and incredibly strong defensiveness. If you've got to this point and need a farm setup, you can probably check out the old videos that I made. It's kind of what spurred me to create this, just because I've gotten so many people asking me how to play. I've had people tell me that they were going to quit the league but ended up staying because they saw that Kinetic Blast of clustering was able to do juiced content coming from MFA, and the dude was saying he was tired of it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Check out the old videos, and if you honestly enjoyed this or it helped you of any sort, hook me up, hit that subscribe. I rarely do a couple videos on PoE during leagues, but if there's interest, I might consider it. I might do more. Let me know in the comments what you think of the build or what you think of yours. I know that someone already messaged me that they found a mirror doing this, but it's not just the build. I think it's just luck. I did find two though. Yeah, good luck, and I hope you drop mirrors too. I'll see you guys later. Bye.